20,000 years ago, somewhere in the frozen wilderness of Ice Age Europe or Asia, a wolf did something no wolf had done before. It walked toward a human campfire instead of away from it. That single moment changed the course of two species forever. But how exactly did this happen? Scientists have proposed at least 5 competing theories. Let's break them down. The most widely accepted theory today is what scientists call self-domestication. The idea is simple. Humans didn't choose wolves, wolves chose humans. As early human settlements grew, they produced wasty bones, scraps, leftover meat. Wolves that were bold enough to scavenge near these camps got extra calories without the danger of hunting large prey. But boldness alone wasn't enough. The wolves that survived and thrived near humans were the ones with low fear and low aggression toward people. Nervous or aggressive wolves stayed away or got killed. Calm, curious wolves stuck around, ate well, and reproduced more successfully than their wilder cousins. Over many generations, this created a new population of wolves that were naturally tamer. Not because humans trained them, but because the wolves' own environment selected for friendliness. Researchers call this survival of the friendliest. It mirrors what happened in a famous Russian experiment with foxes, where breeding only for calm temperament, without any other training, eventually produced fox, like dogs in just a few generations, complete with floppy ears and wagging tails. Under this theory, humans were almost passive participants. We didn't domesticate wolves on purpose. We simply created the conditions: trash, leftover food, predictable camps. And the wolves did the rest, adapting themselves into early dogs long before anyone thought to keep one as a pet. A second theory suggests the process was more direct. Early humans deliberately captured wolf pups from dens and raised them by hand. Hunter-gatherer societies are known, even today, to occasionally adopt wild animal infants, sometimes as companions, sometimes as a kind of early pet, keeping, or curiosity. Under this theory, humans found wolf dens, took out the cubs, and raised them within their camps. A wolf pup raised from a very young age around humans imprints on people much like it would imprint on its own pack. It learns human routines, human voices, and human tolerance. The pups that grew up to be the calmest, most cooperative, and least aggressive were the ones humans were most likely to keep alive and allow to breed. Aggressive or unpredictable wolves, even if hand-raised, may have been killed or driven off for safety reasons. Over generations, this created selective pressure, not unlike the garbage dump theory. Except this time, humans were actively making the choice, generation after generation, about which wolves got to stay. This theory is appealing because it explains why dogs bond so deeply, and specifically with humans, far more than other domesticated animals. An imprinting process early in life, repeated over thousands of years, could account for the unusually strong human-dog emotional connection we still see today. Critics point out that raising wild wolf pups is notoriously difficult and dangerous, even for experienced handlers. But many anthropologists believe early humans may have had different relationships with wild animals than we assume, especially before agriculture changed how people lived. A third theory centers on mutual benefit through cooperative hunting. Wolves and early humans were, in a sense, competitors. Both species hunted similar prey like deer, elk, and bison. But competitors can also become partners when the incentives align. This theory proposes that humans and wolves began hunting in loose proximity to one another. Wolves have superior speed, night vision, and tracking ability through scent. Humans had better long-range weapons like spears and later bows. A wolf could chase down and corner prey that a human could then kill from a distance. In exchange, the wolf got a share of the meat it couldn't otherwise have brought down or defended alone. Over time, wolves that tolerated close human presence during a hunt, rather than competing aggressively for the kill, would have had more consistent access to food. Humans, in turn, would have begun to favor and protect the wolves that helped them succeed, perhaps even feeding them deliberately after a hunt to encourage them to return. This theory is supported by the fact that many ancient human cultures, particularly in the Arctic and Siberian regions, developed extremely close working relationships with dog, like canines for hunting and hauling. Some researchers argue this same dynamic could have existed even earlier, before formal domestication, as an informal alliance of convenience between two predator species targeting the same prey. Critics note this theory is harder to prove archaeologically, since it relies on behavior rather than physical remains. Still, it offers a compelling explanation for why early dogs were valued for skills, not just companionship. A fourth theory suggests dogs emerged primarily as an early warning and defense system. Human camps, especially at night, were vulnerable to predators, other wolves, bears, big cats, as well as rival human groups. Wolves have extraordinarily sharp hearing and smell, far beyond human capability, making them excellent natural sentinels. Under this theory, humans may have tolerated or even encouraged wolves to linger near their camps specifically because their barking and aggressive behavior toward outside threats acted as an alarm system. A wolf that barked or growled at an approaching predator gave humans crucial extra seconds to react, defend themselves, or flee. In exchange for this protection, humans would have tolerated the wolves' presence, perhaps tossing them food as an incentive to stay close rather than chasing them off as competitors. This created a mutually reinforcing relationship. Protective wolves got fed and protected in turn, while aggressive toward outsiders, but calm toward camp wolves were favored over wolves that were either too timid to alert anyone or too dangerous to live near. This theory helps explain a key trait still visible in many modern dog breeds: territorial barking at strangers combined with loyalty toward their own household. It's a behavioral signature that doesn't fully make sense under purely food-driven theories but fits naturally if defense was a major part of the original bargain between species. Some researchers combine this theory with the scavenging theory, suggesting both pressures, food access and protective behavior, operated together rather than as separate, competing explanations. The fifth and most recent theory challenges a basic assumption behind the other four, that dog domestication happened in one single place, at one single time. Genetic research published in the last decade suggests something more complex. Dogs may have been domesticated more than once, in different regions, possibly even from genetically distinct wolf populations in Europe and Asia. Under this theory, the process described in the other four theories, whether through scavenging, pup adoption, hunting partnership, or guard duty, wasn't a single isolated event. It happened repeatedly, in parallel, among different human groups, who had no contact with one another, all converging on a similar outcome because wolves and humans shared similar environmental pressures across the globe. Some genetic lineages of ancient dogs appear to have died out entirely, replaced later by other dog populations as human groups migrated, traded, and interbred their animals. This would explain confusing and sometimes contradictory genetic evidence that researchers have found when trying to pinpoint a single origin point for all dogs. This theory doesn't necessarily contradict the previous four. It actually suggests they may all be true, just in different places. A hunting partnership may have driven domestication in one region, while scavenging-driven self-domestication occurred independently somewhere else, with both lineages eventually contributing to the diverse dog populations we see today. If true, this means the story of how wolves became dogs was never just one story. It was many stories told in parallel by different wolves and different humans, all arriving at the same remarkable destination: companionship across species.